Today I'm going to be cooking a vegan mushroom stroganoff. I got it off of veganhugs.com. I found it on Pintrest. I'm just going to show you what I do to make it, and if there's any other variations that you want to try, do it. I wouldn't know. I just followed the recipe and it comes out delicious. So what it calls for is noodles. I use the bowtie noodles. Mushrooms, of course, because mushroom stroganoff. And the sour cream I use is Follow Your Heart. Delicious. Now, some people make their own. I don't. I'm not that kind of person. I just, whatever I find easy, that's what I do. So I'll show you in a bit when I get everything together. Okay, so the recipe calls for half a yellow onion diced. So I just found whatever one I had in my refrigerator. So I'm just gonna cut that up and dice it. And I got my water going here already. Just gonna cut my onions. You know how to cut things. If you don't, I'm sorry, you were never taught. And it doesn't matter how fine they diced. I mean, you want them small, but you don't want them like micro, you know, just, diced, okay? So I have my diced onion. Let me get my saucepan out. It also calls for garlic cloves. 2 garlic cloves. I had 3, so I'm just going to use 3. It was the last on the clove, and so I'm just going to use 3. It's not going to change it. I mean, garlic's good for you. You know, helps with the immune system. So, garlic is very good for you. But anyway, so I'm just going to chop that up. And chop it fine. Now I make this without oil. It calls for olive oil, but you don't really need it. You can cook it with sauteing it in water. And that's how I'm going to be doing it. I cook with mostly no oil. There's sometimes I will cook with oil only because that's how Steve likes, and that would be like when I do my tofu. I cook with oil. Other than that, it's always water. Water or vegetable broth. So my water's come to a boil. So the recipe calls for a pound of pasta. This is 16 ounces, so it's a pound. I haven't put any salt in my water because it's always, I used to cook with salt, but now it's just salt. Put it on top of your food because this always adds more sodium than what you need. Oh, this one's whole wheat pasta. So we'll try that. Normally I use white, but that's what I had in my cupboard. So that is what I will be using. So now it also calls for a pound of mushrooms. Now you can use white button mushrooms. The recipe calls for baby portobello mushrooms. I did that too. That's fine. but I have white mushrooms, so that's what I'm using. So I'm gonna get ready. I am going to cut those up. Now you can cut your mushrooms however thick you want them. This one's pretty thick. Some of them I cut thinner because mushrooms, you know, cook down. So it just depends on how many mushrooms you want throughout your stroganoff. So I'm turning my pan on. I just filled me up some water so I can have it right here so I can saute it. Get my pasta stirred. I have it about on a 7, so medium high. So we'll get that going. You'll know when it's hot when you put the water in and it sizzles. So yeah, the mushrooms can be any thickness you want. I might do some of them a little bit thinner. It really doesn't matter. It's all to your liking. What I like doesn't necessarily mean what you like. So if you don't like mushrooms, I guess you won't be making this. But, you know, I used to not like mushrooms. Then when I got pregnant with my daughter 24 years ago, I started to like mushrooms. Also, I have put in asparagus. Oh my gosh, it is delicious with asparagus. I'm also going to add spinach. Now the recipe doesn't call for spinach, but I like mine with spinach, so I'm going to put spinach in mine. So there's all sorts of different variations, you know. When I first made it, I didn't put any spinach in it. I was like, man, this would be good with spinach. So then the next time I made it, I put spinach in it. I was like, man, this would be good with asparagus. Well, when I went to the store today, I wasn't thinking about my ingredients because I already had a lot of the stuff, and I didn't think about asparagus, but it would be delicious. I wish I had it. So I just put enough in there so I can get my onions going. So in the pan goes my onions and my garlic. And we want to stir those until they get nice and soft. Sometimes I do it when, you know, they're going to cook more. Actually, I'm going to turn this up on high. I brought you closer so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to stir these around. Actually, you can even leave them. You don't want them browned because we're not making... you know, we're not caramelizing them. We just want them soft. And sometimes I don't even wait until it's all that, you know. Sometimes I'm just impatient. And so next, I'm going to put in my mushrooms and let them cook down. So I'm putting in all my mushrooms. Okay. And then we're going to cook those until they start releasing their juices. So I'm cooking down my mushrooms, and my husband came home. My dogs are barking, so my mushrooms kind of started to turn brown, but that'll be okay. That'll just add more flavor to it. Now, you can decide how much you want your mushrooms to break down on how much juice the waters you want to come out of it. I'm gonna say this is pretty good. Check my pasta, stir it so nothing sticks to the bottom. Okay. The next thing I have to do is stir in my vegetable broth, which is 1.5 cups, the Better Than Bouillon paste. So I just use a teaspoon and a half of that. And I put my soy sauce in here, which was 2 teaspoons, and my teaspoon of dried thyme. So we're going to pour all that in there. And my broth isn't completely, my bouillon, I mean my, I didn't mix my broth. But it'll be hot and they'll break down and it all get mixed in together. So I have to cook this down to where it's about 1/3 of the liquid. But sometimes I find that the next day, you know, the noodles had soaked up the liquid, so I might leave it a little bit more liquidy this time. So we'll see. So once it comes to a boil, you want to turn it down and let it simmer. Now, while it's doing that, you want to get your other ingredients ready. So I have 1/2 cup, this might be a little bit more than 1/2 cup of sour cream. And then it calls for 2 tablespoons of whole wheat flour. So what I'm going to do is just get my whole wheat flour. Sometimes I use white flour. I just happen to have this out, so I'm going to use my 2 tablespoons of wheat flour. You can use white flour, it doesn't matter. I was going to use brown rice flour, but I thought, let's just use the whole wheat flour. I had to take my sweatshirt off, I was getting hot being by the stove. I get cold very easy. And then mix it. So when you put it in, the flour is already mixed in with the sour cream, and so you don't have clumps. That's my tip to you. Now you can do it however you want, but that's how I do it. So I put my flour in with my sour cream. I'm just going to stir it and mix it. And wait until it's time to put that in. So my husband wants garlic bread, so I'm going to just use the deli rolls that we have, that I make his lunches out with, and he'll get one. I'll open it up, butter each side, and put some garlic powder on it, and then I'll cook it in my toaster oven, and he will have himself some garlic bread. So my timer just went off for my pasta. I just tasted it and it's done. So I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to go drain it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my pasta drained. I'm going to say my liquid is good. So I'm going to put in my sour cream and flour mixture. Put it all into my sauce, the liquid that's in my pan. Oh, and I didn't get it all mixed, but that's okay. And if you can see over here, I cut up my spinach, or I use baby spinach. It's organic baby spinach, and I chop it up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this down and mix this all in. And then you want to cook it for a little bit till it thickens up, okay? So we're going to sit here until it's all incorporated. And so I'm going to turn my heat up. Get that all stirred in. Let it come to a simmer. And then I will... See, this time I kept a lot more juice in here because I wanted it the next day not to be so dry. So this is something different I'm trying. But, so we want it to thicken. Then I'm gonna, put in my husband's toast and get that cooking. And then as soon as I put my pasta in, then I'm gonna put my spaghetti in, okay? Not spaghetti, my spinach. So I'm gonna put my pasta in. Yes, this makes a lot, but it is, let me tell you, delicious. This is gonna cook down. I put in some really big handfuls of spinach because, you know, spinach, it cooks down, and my pan looks pretty full, but that's okay because that spinach will wilt right on down in this heat, in this sauce. And I turn my heat down just so my pasta will thicken up some more. And then you salt, whoops, I'm making a mess. And then you salt it to your liking. You put salt and pepper on it to your liking, okay? And then here you have, my spinach isn't cooked all the way down, but that's okay. It's getting there. Just keep stirring it around until it gets wilted down. And vegan mushroom stroganoff. So that's what's for dinner.